My 25F girlfriend, Molly, 26F, for the last 6 months started with a joke that I've already made clear that I don't like. It consists of her saying no quickly to anything I ask. I know it sounds silly, but I ask her to get a glass of water for me. She says no, and after 1 minute, I'm almost getting up, she says she's joking and gets some water. I ask her to wash the dishes, she says no. I say I love you, she says no. I ask her to take her clothes, she says no. Everything is joking, and after 30/1 minute, she does it, but she is addicted to doing it. I've already made it clear several times that I don't like it, even more so in I love you. She's the only person I can say that, so it's special to me. And there are things that are serious and I need her to answer seriously. And if she says no to everything jokingly, I can't tell when she's saying a real no. It's already happened. I keep saying this is boring and I don't like it. She stops doing it and goes back to doing it after a week. After a brief discussion because she played this prank in front of our friends, me asking love, can you get me some medicine? And she, with no kidding, she stopped doing it for 1 month. Yesterday, we welcomed my parents, in-laws and our 2 best friends to our house. Everyone knew that I was going to propose to her and I called them, because we always planned this proposal with our loved ones attending, participating in this special day. I asked her to marry me and she said a quick no, and I was so grumpy/panic/upset, everyone looking in shock, for 30s for her to laugh and say she was joking, finally saying yes. I was so embarrassed and disappointed. I put the ring box back in and said I'd take it out to cool off. I didn't even let her say anything. She kept texting me, no answering calls, saying it was just a joke and that I knew she always did that. She said that I left a difficult situation in the house because it was very clear that I had given up on propose and did in front of my parents and in-laws. She stressed that I was making the situation uncomfortable because of a silly joke. Well, I slept in a hotel and I'm still in it. My parents supported me, but my in-laws calling me off for giving up on proposing, disproportionately humiliating their daughter. I just really think there's time for jokes, and that moment wasn't clearly. She knew I didn't like it and decided to do it anyway. Ada? My boyfriend grew up in a house that valued outdated gender norms. The women were always responsible for cooking and cleaning, so he didn't learn how to do any of it for most of his life. That is, until he moved in with me after college. He's been good about a few things. He doesn't mind helping with dishes or handling the laundry, but the one thing I can't seem to get him to do is learn how to cook. The only thing he can do is microwave frozen meals. I've been trying to teach him the basics, but it seems like it goes through one ear and just comes out the other. He still can't turn on the oven or use the stove without help. The toaster is too complicated for him to use, he claims. Doesn't know how to boil eggs, cook rice, or even how to measure out ingredients using cups. I just don't understand why he can't grasp this but is fine with other things. Here's the part where I may be an asshole. I went on a trip 2 weeks ago for work. I'm in charge of buying groceries, we have separate accounts, and I realized how expensive his frozen meals actually are. $3 to $4 for each. I said screw it and bought the easiest ingredients I could find for a lot cheaper for him to cook on his own. He doesn't like leftovers, so me cooking ahead for him was out. Before I left, I sat him down once again and gave him a very long lesson on using the oven, toaster, and stove, as well as how to boil, scramble eggs, toast a piece of toast, boil rice, noodles, and heat up pasta sauce. I also taught him how to pan fry things like onions and other veggies, and how to tell when they were ready. In case he didn't want to cook both lunch and dinner, I also bought things to make salads and fixings for sandwiches. I come back a week later, and he is angry. He claims I practically left him to starve, and how I know he has trouble cooking. I retaliate, saying I showed him what to do, and I get a whole range of excuses. Setting the oven, stove temp is too complicated. He cut his finger chopping onions and couldn't chop any until his cut healed. He only likes the salad kits so everything is balanced. Apparently he only ate sandwiches, canned goods, and fast food for a week. He thinks I'm a major asshole for not telling him I'm not buying his frozen meals, and leaving him alone to fend for himself. On one hand, I do think it was shitty of me not to tell him I didn't buy his meals, and as someone who grew up in a home pretty much only boiled hot dogs and veggies, and only properly learned how to cook after moving out. I do feel for him, but at the same time, after a few months of not getting the simplest concepts, I'm left feeling partially justified in my actions. So Reddit, Ada? I, 22 meters, am in my first serious relationship with H25F. We have been together just under a year. She moved into my place 3 months ago. Everything was fine in the beginning, but once we started seeing each other more frequently, I noticed her bad habit. Every time we went out and food was involved, she would sample my food before I got to it. We are not just talking of a chip here and there from my chip-bucked sandwich. In actual classy places, she would take the first chunk of my steak/salmon/cake. You name it, she would take the first bite. I had several talks with her about this, but she said it was cute and not sinister. 4 months ago, H got a job with training opportunity. After completion, when she returns to her normal place, the salary will be higher. My place is 40 minutes closer than where she used to live, and I offered her to live with me rent-free if she stopped this behavior. The first month she stuck to our agreement. The second month she slipped up a few times. This last month she has gone back to her old ways. Last weekend a turning point. I bake its hobby. I made cake. After dividing it into 8, I left it in the fridge while I went out with a friend. Usually when I bake and friends drop me off, I will fetch a few slices and thank them for the lift home with the cake. Imagine my surprise when I saw that each piece had a bite taken. I phoned my friend that I owed him cake and he needn't wait for me to come back down. I was angry. I told her that she embarrassed me and we needed to figure out a solution. She went defensive and said she ate it due to loving me so much. That all women do this and guys love it. I made it very clear that she needed to stop now or there would be consequences. Next day I bought a lockbox for the fridge. She was livid, but couldn't do much. Last night she broke the lock and had taken a bite out of all my snacks and 2 slices of baguettes in there. I told her to pack her stuff and leave while I stay with my mother for a few hours. She called me off for making her homeless and possibly ruining her employment opportunities. Reddit, Ada. I, 30F, my ex-husband, 31 meters. Got divorced 5 years ago. During our divorce we owned a old single-wide mobile home, 1973. On a large piece of land that is owned for a trailer park. He wanted the new truck and our savings. I wanted the old trailer and the land. My ex and I have 2 girls, 8 and 7. Since my divorce, I slowly started buying old single-wides and restoring them. Turning it into a business. I love it. My girls go to their dad's and AP apartment every other weekend. I started noticing their clothes, electronics, toys were not coming home. At first I thought their dad was just keeping a few outfits there for them. However, my 8-year-old got upset when she was packing. I asked her what was wrong. She told me her dad takes her clothes and sells them online. That she doesn't want to take her favorite shirt over there. I immediately called my ex. I asked him to return our daughter's clothes. Not wanting to throw my daughter under the bus. I blamed it on them not having enough for school. He played dumb. He said he got rid of the clothes that were too small. I pointed out that the jeans our 7 years had were brand new. He then said that it was only fair he got some cash because he owned the trailer and land. If it wasn't for him I wouldn't be doing this good. I was pissed. I took my daughters down to the dollar store and bought cheap shirts. To a thrift store and bought cheap shorts. We had a girls' tie-dye night. Hot pink everything. Each made 5 shirts and 5 bottoms. I let our girls design and decorate them. My girls loved it. The following week X sends the girls home. I could tell he is mad, but he didn't say anything. The clothes were not returned. No fear, I knew this would be a issue. We made extras. When the girls went back they were wearing tie-dye. They were with their dad for an hour before he called and demanded different clothes. I kindly told him that our daughters love those clothes, they really love tie-dye. X got even angrier and said his parents have a major family party and the girls can't wear pink tie-dye. I told him that he should go buy other clothes if he didn't want them to wear it. He called me an A for being petty. Ada? Edited to add. Thank you so much for all the comments. Here are some things to clarify. 1. AP stands for affair partner. 2. Owned is past tense. My ex is not on the land deed or the title to my trailer. 3. Sadly, this is a true story. I am sorry for those who don't believe it. At the same time, my heart goes out to those who shared your similar stories. Thank you for the love and support. I'm 37 weeks pregnant now, and my boyfriend took 3 weeks off work to stay with me so that we can adjust to being parents to a newborn. This is my first and I'm very nervous and really need the support right now. My boyfriend's mother took it upon herself to schedule a paternity vacation for my boyfriend for the last 2 weeks of his leave. She came over for dinner and surprised him with it. It's an all-expense-paid vacation to Italy for my boyfriend as his paternity present. She gave me a jade stone bracelet and a matching newborn one for the baby, as it's part of their culture to give the family stone to the mother and child once they enter the family. That was very kind of her. However, I told her that his leave was for helping with the baby. She was taken aback and said that he would be with me for a week and that was long enough. Her husband never even stayed at the hospital with her when her son was born. I told her and my boyfriend that I didn't want him to go and that she should have asked first before buying such an extraordinary gift. She left in tears because I was ungrateful and ruining her son's experience. My boyfriend pretty much agrees that he should go for at least a week because she paid for it, but I really wanted him to stay with me and bond with our daughter. Ada? Firstly, sorry this is on mobile and throw away. I, F32, immigrated to my husband's, 39, home country 5 years ago, and we have a beautiful son who is 3. My mother, 52, has always been controlling and frankly is a typical narcissist. She was dead against my moving and was even more upset when I had my son. As a combination of her husband being terminally ill and the pandemic, she wasn't able to meet my son until this week, and she has complained bitterly how we cheated her out of her special time with her first grandson. I wasn't exactly excited about her coming to visit us, but my husband convinced me we should try to let our son have a relationship with her. Well, from the moment she arrived she complained, our house is too small, the garden is overlooked, etc. She complained my son doesn't speak much English and so she can't communicate with him. She complained that my son didn't want to hug her, that he wanted to stay with his paternal grandmother. My son spilled a drink and she shouted at him. We are taking the gentle approach, so I told her not to do that and why, and she lost it, telling me I have no idea how to raise a kid. I told her she needs to respect my methods or she can leave. She stopped, but the whole rest of the day you could tell she was furious. That night my son was having one of those nights where he just isn't going to sleep through. My poor husband also had an IBS flare-up in the early hours and we realized we had no medication. When my son settled at around 7:30 a.m. I decided to do a quick run to the 24-hour pharmacy to get some medication, leaving son and husband both asleep on the sofa. I was gone for 20 minutes, but when I came back my mother's rental car was gone and so was my son, while my husband was still asleep. He was as shocked as I was they had gone. Tried my mother's mobile but no answer. After 45 minutes of me becoming increasingly hysterical I called the police, who came out very fast and when I explained as above took things seriously. 6 hours later my mother pulled back up and started telling the police, most adults know English here, that I had told her she could take my son out for the day. I am currently 6 months pregnant and she said it must be pregnancy brain, which the police seemed to accept and acted like the matter was closed since my son was home safely and showing everyone the toys he'd been bought. I told my mother to leave and that I never want to see her again. She started telling family I kicked her out for no reason and she can't find a hotel, and they blew up my phone, to which I told them she had kidnapped my son and I am going to pursue this with the police. Now I am being called an a-hole for saying my son was kidnapped when he was just taken on a day trip by his loving grandmother, and that an accusation like this could affect my mother's job as a nurse. Edit. Lots of people saying my husband shouldn't have pushed for this meeting. You are right, but I don't think he was wrong. He didn't force me to agree to it, I ultimately had the final say. And I get it, we are lucky his parents are amazing, so despite knowing my mother isn't great he didn't want our son to miss out. We expected some snide comments and awkwardness, but we're ready to ignore that for our son. Since my mother's normal weapon of choice is nasty comments he wouldn't understand, so if we kept smiling he wouldn't know. I feel grief that my son is going miss out on having another grandmother, but she made her bed. Edit 2, Holy SD, is this real life? So she is now trying to change the narrative to I did not kidnap your son, but also if you think your husband could just sleep through an abduction then your marriage is a sham. How could you be so reckless to leave your child with him at? I cannot even with this update, of sorts. Thank you everyone for the support. It seems maybe I got a bit lost in my translation, emotional, and the police spoke native language and very fast with strong accents. The case isn't exactly dropped. They have spoken to my mother and basically told her not to approach the house or they will consider it a threat, harassment, and will act while they continue investigating, but they feel her leaving the country tomorrow is enough of a resolution. Apparently she has shown ticket info. I am still getting a lot of grief from family saying I should understand my mother is struggling after her husband died and so on. This again is making me question my reaction, but I can't forgive this. I will reach out relative embassies, but I feel like nothing will happen. My partner's family are being amazing and looking after us all.